Hey, how's it going? It's Grant with the Garden of Eater.
And Shelby.
And today we're going to talk all about invertebrates, freshwater to be exact. Everything from shrimp to snails to planaria to hydra. We're going to cover a little bit of it all. And right away, I forgot my list. I'm very horribly unprepared. Shelby, you got to run and grab it for me. It has been a chaotic day for us. We started off nice. We dropped off Eric Bodrock and his wife Regina off at Imperial Tropics with Mike Jardy. So my responsibility of keeping Eric alive is over with. He didn't die in my presence. So another successful Eater tour visit. We took him collecting, and surprisingly enough, we collected a new species we never collected before, and it has to do with tonight's live stream. So very excited about that. Had a really great day yesterday. Got to learn one new species every month, and I already forgot the first part of the fish that we learned the new species to. Last part, parva. Can't remember the first part to save my life, and I will not be remembering it either. It's not an easy one. But jumping into things, we've got a great little live stream for you guys tonight. Everything from partners with your shrimps to straight sworn enemies and everything in between. So we're going to get right into it. Starting off with snails. It is probably the number one companion when you want to think about something to go into a shrimp tank. And honestly, there's really no wrong options. It really depends on what you're keeping in the tank. And then, well, we got a new member added to our tank. Shelby, you figure out which little video James will be getting. But back to snails. There are some snails that can be quite destructive to the scenery. If you're working with plants, there's a few you might want to stay away from, like apple snails and rabbit snails. The two of them like to devour plants. Rabbit snails in the Sulu SA tank. Sulu SA tanks alone are kind of hard to grow plants in with the hard coral substrate and the warmer water temperatures and the harder water. But whatever does grow in there, the rabbit snails tend to mow down even on the Anubis, and new growth on the Boost can be demolished.
And
It doesn't show. Just give them the good one. I'm sorry. We'll find that out next time or later.
Oh, here.
Apologize, James, if it's the wrong one. But hit it. Leaving us all in suspense. All right, well, that worked out since I was just talking about Sulu SA shrimp anyways. Of course, the apple snails, they can also eat up some plants. That's why they're like an invasive species here in Florida. We don't want them because they're going to eat up all the little jungle vow and bacopa and everything that helps keep our waterways nice, crystal clear and healthy, and nice habitat for the shrimp, plants, and other invertebrates and fish. And I said shrimp and plants. It's good habitat for other plants, I guess, like gibba and other bladderworts. But we've got other snails like the rams and pond snails and the Malaysian trumpet snails. I've got a little video on the Malaysian trumpet snails. They're by far my favorite snail to keep in our shrimp tanks, especially. They do a lot of work in the substrate, filtering it out and stuff like that. And then we've got the ram's horns. They can be one of the prettier snails for sure. They've got different colors like blues, pinks, and then the red foots. But you got to be careful, just like neocaradinas. If you crossbreed the different colors of ram's horn snails, they will cross, and they can turn just basically into different colors of brown. Not very nice. It's very hard to maintain because you're doing water changes, and one little snail gets on, hitchhikes to the next tank, and something like that. So very careful if you're trying to breed out different colors of snails. And then you've got a snail issue or something like that. You don't want your snails anymore. One of the best parts of Eric Bodrock's talk was him feeding the snails to his cories to get them breeding and just overall happy and hungry and fed well. But the assassin snails could be the answer to your problem. Even in our best Neocaridina tanks, I've got some assassin snails, and with our longest line of green jades, I've never actually seen a assassin snail eat a healthy shrimp. I feel like all the assassin snail pictures out there with, them eating a shrimp, most of the time the shrimp is pretty pink, and that tells me that the shrimp is fairly dead. Other occasions, that shrimp was probably sick or dying and on its way out. So, oh man. Well, Shelby said Cladophora wrong today, so I had to correct her there. But I'm sure I'll slaughter a lot of good ones. Where did we take Eric to eat? We took him to Korean barbecue and Cheesecake Factory the first day, and then Chula's to eat for lunch, collecting. And then, of course, we took him to go have some ice cream at Papa Clyde's. Can't skip out on that. But it was a good time because of you. I knew exactly what the good spot was. We took him to that lake right behind the hotel where we find all the good stuff. But that one spot where we found the sheep's head minnows is where we found the new critter that we're going to talk about. I'm going to save it for last, though, I think. So there's tons of other snails out there, though. The assassin snail doesn't mind what kind it is. It'll hunt down your snails and eat them. It won't eat the eggs or anything like that. So those will have a chance to make it to maturity and get the breeding and restart the cycle. So it's not an exact for sure way to get rid of your snails, but it can help reduce the population for sure. We've got other snails like mystery snails. Those are great little algae eaters and stuff like that. We dropped Eric Bodrock off today at Imperial Tropics. Lucky enough, we've got a couple friends there. Mike Girardi let Mike Bernard show me around and point out a couple of the cool things that do they like to eat Cladophora? Well, the problem is the Cladophora is usually in tanks with plants, and I don't want them to eat the plants either. So I don't know. Maybe they eat Cladophora before they eat the plants. I think that was a setup.
Most rabbit snails are usually on higher pH, which we have not really had much Cladophora issues because we don't have plants in the tank.
No, we got to throw them in with the Shelleys. That's what we need to do. Thank you, Dr. Anthony. We're going to do that tomorrow, not Wednesday. We're busy tomorrow. Anyways, so Mike's showing me around at Imperial Tropics. He's like, what do you want to see? I'm like, puffers, rainbows, apistos, the invertebrates. Show me some snails. What do you got? He's like, oh, we got some new snails in. They call them turbo snails. I think that's off of like the movie Turbo, the snail. A little play on name.
If you haven't seen Turbo, it's actually a really good
Snailed movie. It right there, with the name and everything. But they were just like rabbit snails, where they are live birth, only one baby per egg that's hatched inside in the ovaries. And they were more like a more rigid mystery snail with like a peak, like a trapdoor snail. So
Marvin asked, what's your favorite snails for shrimp tanks?
They are the Malaysian trumpet snails. They do the most work. They're the most beneficial to your shrimp tanks. They siphon the protein and skim the surface at nighttime. They sift through the substrates and eat all the leftover food and empty out those gas pockets before they build up and become a real big issue. Well,
my favorite is the pink ram's horns. Sorry, I don't like Malaysian trumpet snails. I love them. They are very efficient in what they do, but they drive me crazy because they breed too fast.
And then you've got the nerites and the colored ones and stuff like that. Those are nice, but I don't like the eggs that are left behind. You can do the little trick where you put the nerites into little jars and you see which ones lay the eggs and which ones don't, and then you just keep the males in a planted tank. I might do that, but I don't know if I'm up for the work.
Scuba asks, what mineral salts do you use for carotiness?
So we've been using, since like the very beginning, the very first salt that we've used is Salty Shrimp GH Plus. Since then, we've tried several others, and they don't work nearly as well as the Salty Shrimp. Some of them might be more convenient because they're in liquid form and you don't have to mix them overnight. But if you're not lazy and you're willing to do the work and you mix the salts up the night before, Salty Shrimp GH Plus is the most bang for your buck on the market, period. It's got everything you need in it, and it's got the necessities. So that's what we use. But you could use anything with GH only minerals with 6 GH, as long as it has a reasonable total dissolved solids and you don't have to add TDSO. We got a donation, Shelby.
Rob said, I love nerites, but they do climb out.
Well, we got lids on all of our tanks, so we don't got to worry about that.
Still climb out.
We've got some Malaysian trumpet snails that managed to get out with the lid still. What's up, TJ Autocross?
Love this. Thank you for the $9.99. Says Charlie must have more Achilles. Yes. Speaking of that, we're hoping to redo the bedroom and have all the fish in the bedroom tanks, and then be in one area, so it'll be much easier to take care of. Achilles will still get the hallway though.
What are you gonna do for your Achilles with the lid for the biotope tank? You got to do a natural biotope. We gotta get some floaters for that tank. You can use duckweed.
Hold on, sorry. Thanks. We're a little out of it here today.
But TJ, we met you in Tennessee. Are you a Tennessee local? If so, we might be making our way up there in the next 6 weeks or so. So let us know. We'd love to link up with you, Chattanooga Ed, our buddy James. There's a few of you guys up there. All right, back to the script. I think we covered mostly all the snails. They're just snails. We're going to save the best for last. We're going to work our way up there.
Assassin snails breed.
So assassin snails can breed, but they are not like a clutch layer of snail eggs. They lay like one snail egg at a time, and I believe I wouldn't say they only lay on stems, but they do prefer to lay eggs on stem plants. So if you're trying to breed out some assassin snails, great question. Add some stem plants in there. That's something I should have added in. Got a lot of little tips and tricks, but left that one out. Great question.
Thank you so much, Vibes, for the $1.99 super chat. Said best seasoning for Cajun shrimp.
And just a little bit of lemon and garlic. And then you got I don't know what Cajun seasoning makes it Cajun, but with cayenne pepper. But besides, I don't know what else that
we don't eat shrimp.
I don't make my own seasoning. I'm sorry.
How dare you? Continue.
All right, snails out of the way. Let's move on to worms. Worms can be really good for your tank. Man, are they detritus worms or something like that? I know they're not detritus. Maybe I'm horrible with my Latin.
I've heard it pronounced both ways.
This is Dr. Anthony laughing at me right here. It didn't take me long. Not even 15 minutes in, I'm already butchering something. But they look like little long neck, like dinosaurs poking out of the substrate. If you don't like them, reduce the amount of feeding that you do. But just like seed shrimp, they can pop up into tanks out of nowhere. I'm not sure if their eggs are airborne and they can be born in tanks, or if they come in via the food. But no matter what you do with treating your plants and preventing any hitchhikers or anything like that, Those little tiny worms are just going to be in your tanks no matter what. As long as they got a little round head, they're no problem at all. There's little tiny nematode, like vinegar eel looking things that are swimming around. Those things are perfectly fine. Don't worry about that. I've seen shrimp actually jump up in the air and catch those. A lot of times you don't notice them in fish tanks, of course, because that's a quick snack for the fish. However, in shrimp tanks or an invertebrate only tank, they are quite abundant in the tank. So you can uh, get a good colony of those going in the tank, and they're not going to harm your shrimp at all. So those are the good worms. The worms you want to watch out for, though, are the planaria. These are the ones with the arrows for heads, and they got big beady eyes. You want to think they're cute. However, these guys will get up underneath the shrimp, eat the eggs, eat the shrimp from the inside out. There's even pictures of planaria turning different colors due to what kind of color shrimp that they eat. So the pigments can transfer over through diet, and they're kind of vicious, and they can explode quite a bit with them being overfed or finding a good prey that's not going to eat them back. What do you got? What are you laughing at?
I always know Annette's here, but you always get her to comment when you gotta say something bad about snails. How dare you? Just snails.
They're just snails. They're not even good as worms. Not even the
TJ.
bad worms.
TJ said we met at the Clash. He's in Jersey. Can't wait to see you in September. Yeah, we get all our shows confused. I wouldn't even say it's just you, because I was calling the Triple Crown the Keystone Clash over and over. So,
well, I think we might be doing a talk somewhere in Pennsylvania as well.
What about good old classic bladder snails?
So they're not really going to do too much damage to the tank. That was the fourth snail that I couldn't think of that was on my list. It's usually Malaysian trumpet snails, bladder snails, pond snails, and ram snails are like the go-to for pest snails. But honestly, they're only going to eat plants that are dying and on their way out or anything like that. They're not going to be a real big pest. It's just if you don't like the look of them, then you're going to want to dose the tank with some no planaria a couple times, and anytime the eggs hatch, because the no planaria won't take care of snail eggs. But if you don't mind them being in your tank, they're fine. Tubiflex and blackworms and stuff like those guys are great to have in your tank. They're not going to eat your shrimp or anything like that. The more biodiversity that you can have in one aquarium, I feel like the better, where they're not going to be competing for food and then preventing one another from breeding. Especially if like your main objective is to be breeding shrimp, you don't want to add something into the tank that's going to prevent them from breeding the maximum amount that they could be. Great questions tonight. Stop. No, she slept. I even gave her a nap yesterday.
No, it's today.
Oh.
Yeah. I slept on the way back.
Today. I don't know how that happened. Oh, yeah. Yesterday we were busy collecting.
It's like a 30-minute nap, interrupted every 5 minutes with him trying to pass people on the road.
No. We got home and I let you take a 30-minute nap.
Maybe. It's a long day already.
And then I woke you up and we went to the bodega and I got you empanadas.
Yeah.
I'm taking care of her, Matt.
Do you sell aquatic earthworms or planaria? I know that planaria are killers, but they're also so cool.
So we do not sell either or. I do have some earthworms that are in our grow bed system out there. And I've never actually thought of selling them, and I don't think they're actually aquatic. What I think happens is there's little pockets of air that get trapped, and they're able to breathe those little tiny pockets rather than being fully aquatic. I don't think they live in very deep water at all because they need some type of way to get to the surface and replenish that oxygen. I'm not sure on that one. But the planaria, I would like to have a little tank where it's completely separated from everything else. Probably going to be in the garage where we grow out some planaria, and I might sell it, and then have that option for doing some experiments. I think that'd be a good. We need to figure out a science experiment for Jaden. I can't remember what I had. I was like, "This is what we're doing. It's genius."
Goodness gracious!
Yes.
Yeah, we gotta get started on that.
I had something. It was awesome, and I forgot what it was now.
Must have not been that great.
All my great ideas are. That's why we're not rich. Is because I forgot all the good ones.
That must be it.
All right. We went through all the worms, planaria, except for leeches. Leeches are going to have like a little suction cup for a mouth. If you get live blackworms, a lot of time they'll come with leeches. They can be on plants and stuff like that, especially wild collected plants will have a lot of little hitchhikers. Leeches are a popular one for sure inside mosses and stuff like that. Maybe tubiflex don't live in the tanks. I don't know what tubiflex actually look like in the tanks. So
he's saying it's not pronounced tubiflex. Tubiflex. I don't know. I've never used them before.
All right, I'm not worried about it. It's not something I'm trying to keep in my tanks. It wasn't even on the list. I just learned about them recently that Eric gets the freeze-dried ones and feeds them to his cories, and that's why he has to squish them and get them wet and make them sink. Got to rehydrate them things.
I also use snails as food.
Yeah.
Squish them and fed them to the cory cats, and they bred that way.
So the leeches, those things, they can eat shrimp, they can eat other little things, they can get on the sides of different fish and stuff like that, cause little issues. So you definitely want to keep those out of the tanks. Just like the planaria, you can dose the no planaria and the dog dewormer and stuff like that. We recommend the no planaria over the dog dewormer because it doesn't kill as much beneficial bacteria in your filter. Then we've got scuds. These little things are great for like eating decaying plant matter and dead moss and stuff like that. However, they're also great fish food and stuff like that. But when they give birth, the females, they're going to need nutrients so that way they can get ready for their next clutch of babies, and they're going to crave a little protein. And at that time, they will eat some baby shrimps. I'm not saying they're going to outcompete your red cherries and you won't be able to breed red cherries in your tank with scuds. However, if you were to take your scuds out, you are going to see a noticeably high increase in baby survival rate, and numbers in your colony are going to grow a lot quicker that way. The scuds, males really don't cause an issue or anything like that. The issue really isn't too noticeable. I'm sure you can outfeed like high protein food and stuff like that and won't be an issue. Crush a lot of snails, maybe it'll distract them or something like that. But I'm not going to risk having them in a tank with. Did you hear that? I swear the discus are clicking.
Their mouth was crazy. You're going crazy.
They're at the surface. But anyways,
it would be the dwarf.
The scuds, they kind of look cool. Some of them are like light in color. Some of them will look green when we collect. At a spot the other day, we were collecting jet black scuds, and I definitely want to bring home some of each kind, put them in a tank, feed them different food, see if they change or if it's actually pigment and different coloration. I'm sure there are tons and tons and tons of different species of scud. I know there's freshwater, saltwater ones and stuff like that. I would like to just breed them out in one day, get a mandarin goby, and even if they're freshwater, just throw them in the tank. The mandarin will pick them off, whether they're dead or alive, I'm sure, or dying on the way out. They'll be easy pickings. But I had them in our red cherry tanks for years before I found out that they ate baby shrimp. Took them out of our red cherry tanks, and they were going crazy. So yeah, we were finding black scuds all over the rocks. We were looking for other things. Flipped over one of the big rocks. There was an oyster on the rock, and then it was just completely covered with black scuds, and they were squiggling away so fast. I was like, Regina, look at this. And I think she was busy looking at some marsh killies or something that they were trying to catch. Can't remember exactly what the first name was. Last name was Parva. But we thought that it was a species that Eric hadn't caught before, so they were going after that, or bred before it, because Eric's bred like almost everything. So if there's something he hasn't bred, we're trying to help him out with that for sure. And by the time she looked over, most of the rock was gone, but there was an oyster. The little area that we were collecting at during high tide, the water level is really high, but when it goes from high to low tide, the river flows one direction, and then when the low tide is coming backwards to high tide, the river kind of reverse flows, and the majority of it's pretty salty. That's why the oyster was able to survive. But there's a lot of neat stuff in there. I mentioned seed shrimp slightly before. With all brand new aquariums, when it's setting up, if you don't have fish in the tank, you will end up getting seed shrimp in these tanks. The population really controls on how much organics and how much food you put in the tank. If you put a ton of food, you're going to have a massive population of seed shrimp, as long as your ammonia nitrates are relatively low. But in nature, relatively speaking, in most places where these shrimp are found in these rivers, they're moving so fast, the water is being replenished so quickly. The ammonia and the nitrates and nitrates are almost always zero. That's why even the highest little bit of those can burn the gills of shrimp. It's going to do the exact same thing to the little tiny microscopic shrimp, the seed shrimp, and Daphnia and stuff like that. So definitely got to keep your tanks clean, but if you can keep them clean, the water parameters pristine, and have a lot of food in the tank, you will have a massive explosion of seed shrimp. They're not really a filter feeder. They're more of going around picking things off the little tiny nooks and crannies. So they're a really good thing to have in your tank, and a sign of a really healthy, established ecosystem. And it's a good thing to have before you throw your shrimp in the tank. It's a good sign that it's nice and cycled or on the way. Next thing is like Daphnia. A lot of times your shrimp tanks are going to be too clean to keep Daphnia. However, if you got a green water issue and tank maybe next to the light, tank is next to a window, getting too much light or something like that, you're feeding powdered foods, you might be able to keep a good colony of Daphnia going, feed them daily and stuff like that, a little powdered food. But that's really the only recommendation that I'd have for powdered foods, other than like the bamboo shrimp and stuff like that.
Crep asks, what is the parasite that I see in YouTube shorts in wild shrimp gills and tide pools?
Oh man, it just...
You're talking about that crustacean that they pull out of like crayfish?
Yeah, but it's also the ones that we have. Man, maybe it'll come back to me, or Dr. Anthony can answer that one. But we'll catch them in Florida, and almost all of them have this little tiny... Oh man, it's like a leech, but it's almost like a... it'll come back to me, or somebody else will answer it. And you should let me know about that question of the week or something. Or could have researched that beforehand. Stump me on live television. All right. But the Daphnia, you can throw powdered foods, little air stone. They like a lot of oxygen. They'll do a lot better in a round tank than square edges. They can kind of get stuck in the corners and won't be able to get a lot of food and circulation and flow. You gotta.
Just as blood sickening. It's a Ortheon griffinets. Can't pronounce it. It's a crustacean.
It's got an easy common name though, and I can't.
Native to Asia and Russia.
I don't think that one's it though. There's something else though. It's almost like an isopod or something like that we have in Florida.
Mushroom.
I don't know. There's something else though. That's the one that's like popular on the TikTok. I'll find something else. We'll have it next week for you. I promise. I did it one time because I thought it was like a sack of eggs on the shrimp's face when we caught it at the preserves. I'm sure there's several different ones that latch on and leech on, and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna worry about that. It wasn't part of the script. I'm not ready for it. So Daphnia, moving on. We've got Hydra. These things are like a freshwater jellyfish. The ostracods. All right. Do you have seed shrimp in your tanks? Yes. In just about every single shrimp tank, there is seed shrimp. I do have like a few mountain cloud minnows in one of the tanks. I'm sure there's 0 seed shrimp in that tank. I mean, but I can't say 0, but like a very, very small population, but I can't see any. So almost 0. But speaking of Hydra, they're like a freshwater jellyfish. They attach themselves to the sides of the tanks. Any little nook and cranny that's going to get a lot of flow. One of their favorite spots, of course, is going to be a sponge filter. Don't really try to remove these things. Just like worms, you cut them in half or anything like that, they're going to regenerate and grow. So if you break off any little barnacle or piece to the Hydra, it's going to grow into separate pieces and start its own little thing. So we've got a $4.99 donation, Shelby. I'm not worried about those little parasites.
Thank you, Vibes, for the $4.99 super chat. So let's get the thumbs popping, y'all. Cream cheese, stuffed shrimp wrapped in bacon and grilled and smoked.
You leave the cream cheese out, and I'm all about it.
Thank you so much, Vibes.
Thank you, man. Much. But, the man, Vibes, thanks a lot. Hopefully we'll see you at a couple of the shows this year. Got to figure out what shows we're doing. Now that everything has gone the way it's gone, we know that we'll be traveling and whatnot the rest of the year. So once my mom leaves on Thursday, we'll be booking all of the shows and figuring all of that out. All right. I'm not worried about this.
What kind of fish do you keep with your shrimp to help with seed shrimp?
You could, anything that you're going to put in the tank that's going to eat the seed shrimp is going to eat baby shrimp as well. You could have fry in the tank. Those are going to pick off the seed shrimp and not the baby shrimp. But it's only a matter of time before those fry end up getting big enough that they're going to end up getting the baby shrimp. So I've got the mountain cloud minnows. Those are fried. Me and Mark grabbed those when Dr. Anthony was down here in December and threw those into a tank right before the freeze. And they're just now about the size that I'm worried about them eating baby shrimp. So they'll be coming with me to the Florida State Fair tomorrow and getting put in their own tank and using them as clouds.
Seed shrimp are like an early warning system of something wrong in your tank if they disappear suddenly.
Yeah, you shouldn't have too many reasons for the seed shrimp to be gone. Hydra, they'll take off a lot of the seed shrimp for you, so they could do a number. So if you've got a big population of Hydra in your sponge filter and you can't see them because there's a lot of plants in the way, the seed shrimp are a good indicator.
How do you avoid Hydra while encouraging seed shrimp?
All right, so Hydra, planaria, all of these little bad things that I'm mentioning in the tank, those all will come by being a hitchhiker. So the seed shrimp and those other little detritus worms, those things are fine. They can come out of nowhere, but they're not going to be a problem for your tank. So you can just overfeed, and those things are going to come out of the woodworks like crazy. But you'll never ever get hydra or planaria unless you introduce something that has eggs or something like that, or actual hydra or planaria on them into the tank. So as long as you don't have them, you can just feed them suckers and you're going to have a ton of seed shrimp in the tank. It's not necessarily a good thing though, because you can, over feed them and cause a neurite issue, and that'll crash your seed shrimp population. So seeing them on the walls and climbing all over everything, it's good enough for me. Yeah, I'm not big onto these other worms. I'm sure there's some more research and stuff to be done, but I really don't worry about anything unless it's got an arrow or a leech, an arrowhead or a leech.
It's definitely the name of it, the Latin name, but it's got a common name, but for some reason the internet does not want to share that.
I think there's like those are like the saltwater ones that the kid on TikTok is like pulling out with tongs.
Right, it can be any crayfish, or freshwater.
Right, I wasn't referring to those ones. There's like little patches on the ghost shrimp that we were pointing out.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if he was talking about like Alex, if Alex posted a video from when he was down here in Florida, but there was certain ghost shrimp that I wouldn't want in my tanks because he's got these little things stuck to the side of them. Those are in the gill plates. It's on like the face.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then talked about the oysters, but there's also like freshwater clams. I really am not a big fan of these. I haven't heard of anybody actually doing good with the clams. I've heard two things: is either the clams end up dying in the tank and the person doesn't notice and it ends up causing a huge spike in ammonia, and then they go through, tear down the tank, and it's a bunch of dead clams, and they're all disgusting, smell really foul and bad, and that was most likely the cause. The other thing is those little tiny ones. I've had, I think, one person say that they just got them. They completely took over all of the substrate and became a nuisance and an issue with plants and stuff like that. I can't remember who that was, or somebody in the club or something like that, but they never did bring me any, so I was never able to experiment that with them. But I would err on the side of caution when using them, because I've heard almost all of the stories except for the one person end up not being very well. So,
Nate said, "Hey Grant, what's your thoughts on limpets?"
All right, so I think it's a limpet, like a wild parasite limpet or something like that's on the shrimp. But most of the freshwater limpets that we find in the tanks, they're just a nuisance. If they get on the shrimp, for the most part, they're gone once the shrimp molts. Once you get them in the tank, there's really no getting rid of them unless you take all the shrimp out and do a little tiny, or not a little tiny, but do a proper no planaria dose will get rid of the limpets. But I'm not sure if it will get rid of the eggs or anything like that. I don't know how hardy those are, but I don't really worry about them that much. They're not going to harm the shrimp or do anything like that. And most of the time in the low pH tanks, they don't really last too long.
Little off topic says, starting to keep and enjoy shrimp. Notice that you make sense discussing shrimp color genetics. Is this medallion in which you have recessive dominant color mutations, etc.?
Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm a little spacey today. Notice that
Medallion.
You got the answer for this?
No.
Why are you so?
I'm not reading this right. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm tired. Okay.
I want to figure
Sorry.
this out. Starting to keep and enjoy shrimp. Notice that makes sense discussing shrimp color genetics. Is this? Yeah, I don't know the definition for that word. In which you have recessive dominant and color mutations. I'm sorry. I need to do research on that word. I don't know what it means. We've got
Welcome in, Sibley Warrior. It says off topic, top 3 mosses, not Java, and best way to get a green strain of Caridina. Buy a line or create my own. Example, Aurora Blue crossed with Yellow King Kongs equals Aurora Green. Hashtag UFC.
all right. Let me answer it before you can get the thing ready to go once I answer maybe halfway through. So top 3 mosses that are not Java. I like the mini Physidens moss. It is the slowest growing moss. A little tiny portion of it is like $25 for like a quarter size or 1 inch by 1 inch portion. But it looks really good on everything. You can grow it immersed and grow it a little bit quicker. However, it provides all the little tiny little extra surface area and stuff like that. I'm just going to stick with Physidens as a whole. You don't have to do mini Physidens because they have the NL Physidens. What's the other really fancy Physidens that is big and wavy? Oh man, but the Phoenix, almost all the Physidens, they grow really slow. They're a nice carpeting plant if you wanted to do that as well. The Gipa, GIPA. There's a really nice Physidens moss that starts with a G. I think that's what it is. But those you can find from different pet stores every now and then. They sell them on 2-inch by 2-inch screen and different coconut hides and stuff like that. Flame moss is a great one. And then the hooker moss. They're all really slow growing mosses. They're easy to contain. They don't grow wild into the sponge filters. They don't fill up the front of the tank. So you still have room to cull and stuff like that. What about yours, Shelby?
You said Christmas moss. It didn't say that it needed to be overgrown. It just said top 3 mosses that aren't Java moss.
Those are the reasons why they're my top 3 mosses.
Xmas moss would be it's if you want a tank full of moss really fast, that's going to be your best bet. It's not technically a moss, it's in between, it's a subwassertang, it's technically an algae, but I enjoy that as my second choice. And third choice would probably be giant willow moss, but it's hard to come by.
All right. And then the best way to get a green strain of Caridina. What?
Which cup are you drinking out of?
I just poured yours.
Oh, okay.
I gave you some water. So, with the green strain of Caridina, we've got the original cross. The most important cross is the Yellow King Kong cross with the Aurora Blue Tigers. However, to get the best green possible, you've got to have the best and nicest, deepest, darkest blue Aurora Tiger that you can find. And first generation is usually going to give you the best greens. After that, it's selective breeding, and it's super, super hard because you're going to get a lot of greens that are going to turn orange and vice versa. And you're going to cull some, and then next week the culls are going to look really nice. But there is a chance if you do Tangerine Tiger and any kind of Taiwan bee, several generations down the line, you can start to get green hues, green Tai bees, Tai bees, and stuff like that. But it's going to take a lot of work. I mean, I'm 10 generations in, and that's how I'm getting my greens. They're a little bit dicey here and there, Some of them look a little yellowish, some of them look a little too blue, but at the end of the day, they are the nicest greens. But if you could buy a line of greens in the United States, go for it. But the problem is the green hulks, 90% of the time, they turn black within a few weeks, if not months. And then the other 10%, I've gotten maybe 2-3 clutches of eggs, and then they almost all turn black. I've never had one live a full life where it stayed green the entire time. So if you can buy one, that'd be great. Eric Bodrock said he was in Norway, I believe, or Sweden. I can't remember where, but he said he visited somebody's fish room where they had some lime green shrimp. He wasn't sure if they were Caridina or Neocaridina. I have seen parts, or not parts, but posts of some of the Caridina shrimp overseas. And, they're green, but how old are they? How long have they had them and stuff like that? And there was a lot of photoshopping going on of blue and green shrimp before Facebook really kind of took a dive on the shrimp scene, and it's not so popular anymore. Then we have, you're making your own. The best way to do it is the Aurora Blue with the yellow King Hong. You're going to get the green tigers. It's not an Aurora green. You could have named it an Aurora green, but there are Aurora blue tigers that have a natural green hue to them. And Nico Rico over in France had them. We got them, and they never really took off for us. I get like a very small amount of babies off of them. He will be coming back here to the States in June. So I might see if he's got that line, and then I'm going to try and use those to make a new variety of yellow King Kong, Aurora Green Cross, Green Tiger. But it's going to take some time. You might be a little lucky if you're out of the States to get the green strain, but here we don't have it going on.
Thank you so much, Black Powder Aquatics, for the $5 super chat. Says, have any of y'all forgotten a like? Thank you so much for reminding people.
Much appreciated. Thank you. All right, so before the green discussion, I think I was talking about clams. I would avoid those at all costs. Then we've got, dragonfly larvae. These things are, and there's other larvae like Dempsey larvae and stuff like that, but you're gonna want to avoid those at all costs. Those things can eat fish, they can eat shrimp, they will eat just about anything that moves. Most people don't purposely add these into their tanks. You can, however, get them if you're adding plants that you collect or anything like that from the wild. Some of their eggs, I think, can take 6 to 9 months before the eggs hatch. So even if you're quarantining something for that long, there's still a possibility that you end up with a dragonfly larva. My biggest story is I had a tank with 200 plus. This is orange, but I'm talking like bright pumpkin orange, Neocaridina, and then maybe 10 to 20 red tigers, clear body red stripes, no eye colored, nothing fancy. But every day I fed, you'd have a horde of 200 shrimp on it, and almost all of them orange. Maybe one red that just thought he was big, the top dog of the reds, and he could fit in and get his food. However, one day I fed him all orange. 2 days later, I go to feed, and the only shrimp on the pile were red tigers. Poke around the tank, couldn't find any orange shrimp. Like, where did they go? 2 days ago, I had 200 or so. I found the biggest, fattest dragonfly larva or dragonfly nymph I've ever seen, and it had demolished all of those orange shrimp. maybe it couldn't see or catch the red tigers as easily as the orange, but it definitely was an issue in my shrimp tanks as well as outside in the ponds.
There's a small handful of freshwater sponges. Are you aware of anyone who keeps them? If so, their experience.
No, I wish I could get my hands on some freshwater sponges. I'd really like to give them a go. I haven't seen any of them. I found something when we were out at the Buford Springs earlier, and I thought maybe it was a sponge, but I think it was just like a seed pod that was just decaying and kind of spongy. It didn't smell bad though.
Dr. Anthony says dominant versus recessive. So cross dominants can get 25% pure dominant, 50% will have both genes, and 25 will be totally recessive. That is the Mendelian genetics.
All right, so the best example of that are going to be the Michelin shrimp. So the Michelins are the crystal shrimp crossed with the Taiwan bees, and when you do that, you get the crystal shrimp crossed with the Taiwan bee will be 100% will be Michelins, and these will be het for Taiwan bee, but they'll all look like crystal shrimp. But when you cross them, 25% will be Taiwan bees, 50% will be more Michelins, and then 25% will be just crystals that will have absolutely zero Taiwan bee genes. Thank you, Dr. Anthony, for clearing up that madness for us.
Yeah, that definitely helped.
Yeah, I thought I just spaced out and didn't pay attention. I was like, what's going on? It's just the one word. I had no idea what it was.
So funny. Weeping moss makes me sad. Fire moss is too hot. And don't get me started on hooker moss.
Weeping moss is a cool moss, but it grows out. It doesn't really grow up. So it real quickly wants to grow and cover the entire tank. It makes it really hard for me to cull shrimp. All right. So the dragonflies, they don't got a good rep. Keep them out of your tank. Don't collect wild plants and throw them into your shrimp tanks. Don't collect wild plants. But I got one more thing on my list before we talk about the best thing on the list. And it's beetles. There is like a video that went really popular last year, and it was like a tank full of little different aquatic beetles.
Sunburst beetles.
And there was more than just sunburst beetles. There was like 5 or 6 different kinds of beetles that this guy had in his tank. It was quite cool. However, when we go collecting, if you just catch nothing but bugs, and most of the bugs are going to be beetles in the ponds, you're not going to be catching any fish. And most of the time, you don't catch anything but beetles. There isn't any shrimp or anything like that. So I've never wanted to keep any beetles in my tanks until I saw that one video. But I am for sure going to be putting them in their own tank. I'm sure Shelby is going to take over that one because she wanted them in the beginning. But they will definitely be getting their own tank. I might throw some neos, some wild neos in there and see what happens with them. But I think they're for sure going to eat the shrimp. So what's Harley got to say?
Said, what up, shrimpers? We're finishing up the breeder boxes this week to ship over to Grant. They're coming out great.
Very excited, man. Thank you very much for the hard work. Really excited to get these things out. Pre-orders are still going on the website, and we'll be shipping those out as soon as we can. Been a very busy week. Haven't seen my mom in over 7 years, and she's in town. My uncle's not doing well. We had the Bod Rocks in town. We've got the Florida State Fair going on. That's where we're all day to day. So
I tried helping Bunny to this point. It's a fluval stratum for neos. I did say that to do a NERT instead of a aqua soil, but
you can use it.
I just want to know if you would recommend it.
You can use it. You just need to make sure that your tap water is got like KH, or you've added KH to your RO water or something like that. And then you're going to want to maintain it and keep an eye on that, and actually have to check your water parameters and make sure that that stratum isn't pulling out the KH. And if it is, then you're going to have some fluctuations in pH swings, and that's going to give you an issue with baby survival rate. However, if you can keep the KH in the water, then the fluval stratum is just fine. Usually after a month, the stratum will stop stripping the KH out of the water.
Eric said, we love Grant and Shelby. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Welcome in.
Thank you, Eric. Much appreciated, man. You're like one of the biggest supporters we got on the channel. You rock, man.
I missed this one. $2 super chat from Whoops World said, just cuz.
How do you miss Whip?
It didn't show it.
Oh, all right.
Sorry, Whip. Thank you so much.
You guys are awesome. The support has been great. And you notice we got the light. We are going to continue to upgrade, make this thing great for all of y'all. Hopefully in the next month, we're going to be getting Jaden's fish room, his armory all finished up. And then we'll be back on to making little things like light covers, so that way this might all look better, and pimping out the tanks behind us. They all have fish in them. I didn't know Shelby was going to let me put shrimp in these ones. I thought they were for her fish. A little miscommunication, not complaining. All right. This was you. Wrong time to be on.
Said, did you guys go over Cyclops already? I might have missed it.
Yeah, I think the Cyclops are the seed shrimp, if I'm wrong. I'm sorry, or the Daphnia, but they're little tiny little gastropods. They're all good as long as they're not scuds. They're fine with me. But the last thing on my list is going to be the isopods. These guys are terrestrial. They're aquatic. They're freshwater, brackish, saltwater. We've got some freshwater ones up on the website. They are extremely tiny, not as small as seed shrimp. However, the babies, some of them can be. But of course, adults can reach up to like 1 centimeter. I do have Goliath. He's running around in the fluval tank, but he's 1 in a million. I haven't seen another big one as large as his. I have seen other isopods and stuff get a little bit bigger than the ones we have on the website, but the ones on the site, they're completely shrimp safe. We've got them in a tank breeding with Neocaridina, breeding with Caridina. We've got Cirrustone in the tank, Malaysian trumpet snails. I'm sure there's a different kind of snail in there as well, but it is a great little micro ecosystem going on in a small 7.5 gallon tank. And well, all of these donations are going to make me late for the Crypt Keeper question of the week.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anthony, for the $20 super chat from Amazon Research Center for Ornamental Fishes. I have to put that out there, sorry. To buy Grant a dictionary so he can figure out how to pronounce some of his terms. Thank you.
I'll take the $20 and I'll send it to somebody that actually knows how to say it, and then I'll just put it on tape and I'll just play it in the car when we're driving from point A to get ice cream and point B to get home. You know,
that's a good idea.
All right, now I do have a lot more to talk about isopods. I don't think I'm going to get to it.
Thank you, Bunny Viper, for the $9.99 super sticker. Wish I could see it. I don't have the phone up anymore. Thank you so much, Bunny.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. Shelby was like, we're not even going to do a live stream today, right? And I'm like, no, we told these people we're going to do the aquatic isopod one. And I'm sorry we didn't get until the whole hour of the stream, but we'll make sure we try and do a nice long
cute little puppy.
talk and feed markup on the isopods. This is a big
Thank
question.
you so much, Christopher Gonzalez, for the $9.99 super chat. Said, after you do your water changes, how do you add water back into the aquarium? Do you have videos on this? From my understanding, water being added back should be done slowly. Love the shrimp pimpin' room tour. Thank you so much for the donation.
My apologies, Tim. I don't want to do this to you, making you wait just a minute, but my man donated $10. We got to honor this and help him out with the. I can't read it. My eyesight's going, and you're so small down there.
No one wants to see
me.
No
one. That's not true. It's not true, Crypt Keeper. Not at all. All right. So when we do our water changes, we've got this little siphon guard, prevents water and prevents the baby shrimp from getting sucked up with the water, and it all gets drained out into the pool. And then we've got an army of trash cans where we pre-mix all of our minerals together. And then we've got a pump, and in the bottom of the trash can, the pump is on a 50-foot extension cord, so I can just keep it plugged in and run from one side of the house all the way to the new trash can and work them back and forth so I don't have to unplug anything. See, I'm telling you, you heard the clicking too. They're going crazy.
Messed up the tank.
We didn't feed them today yet. They'll get fed a little extra. But when we plug it in, the pump has long enough. It's like a 10-foot hose because we've got a stand that's 10 foot high now. And did that come close?
You're just
I hit Eric Bodrock 3 times with the dip net. I felt so bad. I just didn't realize how long that thing is and how close Eric was. But anyways, we've got a nice hose from Shelby's Work, West Marine. They sell a little bit nicer. Yeah, but they sell marine grade vinyl tubing, and it's a lot nicer. It's a little bit thicker, and it's going to last a little bit longer than the hose that you can buy at Home Depot. And then at the very top of it, it's got a little attachment that kind of clips onto the top of the tank, and then it's got a little lip up, so that way it doesn't sit inside the tank at all. And that way I prevent any cross-contamination from one tank to another. And then, where are you going? Get out. I know. But when you plug in the pump, of course, some pumps are going to be 2,600 gallons per hour. Some of them are going to be only 80 gallons per hour. So, of course, you got to adjust the water flow. We've got a little ball adjuster valve in the middle, so we can adjust it all the way from a trickle to full-on blast. There's water everywhere. Try to avoid that as much as possible. But I try to fill the tanks up with as much flow so that way it doesn't disrupt the substrate. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll do like 5 tanks at a time. So I'll fill up 5 tanks, maybe a quarter of the way through the water change, and then I'll turn up the nozzle a little bit further so that way the flow can pick up a little bit more. And because there's more water in the tank, it's not going to kick up as much as no yawning. I know I'm boring, but this guy really wanted to know how we do our water changes.
We do have a video, water change video.
I don't know if I explained the actual. All right, I'm sorry. I don't know what I've done. My brain's fried. I can tell you genetics about Caridina.
Thank you so much, Christopher Gonzalez.
Anything non-genetic, we got to rely on Shelby. All right, now it's time.
It's time.
Get Bruce Buffer's announcement.
I don't know which one.
I thought it was safe to take a sip of water, Shelby. You're killing me.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Hey, what's up, man?
Oh, nothing much. So I think it was your spring cleaning video that you showed your water change procedures. So I'll definitely post a link in that once I hop back into the chat.
All right, cool.
So I've got some of your aquatic isopods that you've got on the website there, and I've got a couple of questions on them if you don't mind.
Oh,
So
shoot.
I did type one of the questions into the chat if Shelby could find it and pin it.
Trying miserably, but I'm
Is it
trying.
before all of the donations?
I think it was right around the time of Eric's donation.
Okay.
Maybe
All
like
right.
10 comments before or after, something like that.
That was on point, my
Yep,
man.
that one. All right, so will breeding aquatic isopods slow down the breeding of shrimp?
So they do not slow it down as far as I'm concerned. I've got them in 3 of our tanks that are breeding like crazy. And in one of the tanks is a 7.5 gallon fluval tank. And I've got both yellow King Kongs and green emeralds breeding in that tank. And I know I don't sell a lot of green emeralds, but I sell more green emeralds out of that 7.5 gallon tank than I do the 55-gallon tank that was in Jaden's room. So
Okay.
I don't think the isopods are doing anything but beneficially picking up and cleaning out the little nooks and crannies, because that tank's got a background. One of the foam ones, it comes in a tank kit from Fluval. And those things have gone in behind that and like cleaned out all the little goop and gunk out of that and stuff like that. So I don't think they actually prevent any breeding from the shrimp whatsoever. I do think they're truly like the seed shrimp in that way, where they can live in one system. And if anything, maybe the isopods are breeding a little bit less because the shrimp are eating a bulk of their food source.
Oh, okay. Then the second question, I've got my isopods in a shrimp tank that also has fish in it. Do you think that the isopods breeding out is going to help reduce the amount of baby shrimp that are eaten by the fish?
So this is a great question. I'm so sorry, Shelby. We just so happened to, start talking about isopods right before you jumped on here. And one of the things that I've had to recently do a good research session on the isopods, and I found out that pretty much a good amount of the research is done because of trout fly fishing. So the people want to mimic what the trout are eating, fly fishing. They want to use little flies, and they try to mimic what the insects are in those areas, and they want to mimic those insects in their best Sunday suits. If those insects are flaring up a certain color during mating season, then that's what they're trying to make these little flies look out to be. So there's like 2 commonly found aquatic isopods that are actually native from Massachusetts all the way, I think, into Texas, on the coastline. I'm not sure how coastal they get or anything like that. I only started the research yesterday because we went collecting, and obviously that's a little hint there. But we found out that the trout fishing website was like the best research for the freshwater isopods. And now, putting things together, I've got to do more research because there's other, bodies of water. I might have to look into brackish types and stuff to get an identification. But yeah.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
But that didn't answer your question at all.
No, I've got guppies. Trout.
So the trout actually graze on the rocks, and one of their main food source are the aquatic isopods. And the aquatic isopods are a great food source because they breed all year round. So they're always going to be there. And because they breed so much, and the females, they're ready to go right after one clutch or right after another, that there's always going to be, an out competition of isopods out there. And if a really aggressive fish like a trout is, able to eat all of that they can and fill their bellies, and there's still healthy populations in the wild. I think these are a great little thing to keep with your shrimp if you want to encourage having a nice colored shrimp in the tank with your fish. Absolutely, they're going to be eating some isopods, and chances are they might not be as hungry, or they might like the taste of the isopod over the shrimp. But the way I feel with fish, they're always going to eat what tastes the best in the tank. So if one fish is like, ha, baby shrimp, just love them every 30 days. Martha over there gives me 30 young ones. She's following around that shrimp and you don't even know it. So they're tracking them. And probably not, but they've got their own communication going for sure.
Right. They definitely form habits. I've noticed that when switching foods and stuff.
Yeah, but I might as well crack the news while you're here. So yesterday we were collecting with Regina and Eric Bodrock, and I also had the kids and my mom with me. We went collecting at one of the freshwater springs, drove around for a while, and my mom wasn't having that collecting spot where we had stopped. I know she wasn't going to enjoy anything, so Shelby, she's like, hey, we should go to the park, let the kids have some fun. Which park did you go to, Rogers or Jenkins? They have a tower, big view, something for my mom to see. It was the right move for her, but she got to miss out because I was trying to help them find something, and then I flipped a rock just because I remember going on the river one day. I flipped over one of the logs, and underneath looked like an aquatic millipede. And so I kind of like in my mind was like, oh, maybe I'll find some of those out here. And on the very first one, I found a larva, but it was like not a dragonfly larva. It was just something else. There's stick bugs, there's beetles, there's all sorts of little things out in Florida. It's bug heaven, really. And I didn't know what it was, but Regina was like, oh no, for sure that's a larva. So I don't know why. I did another rock, and on the next rock, like I mentioned, it was full of black scuds. And I was like, oh, these things are kind of cool. And I was just looking a little bit closer, and I thought I saw like a little mini lobster crawl into a hole. And I'm like, oh, we got crawfish, or what was that? And I get it out of the hole. It was an isopod with what looks like a little tiny lobster tail on the back end of it.
Oh, really?
So I tried to do some research last night. I found one of the isopods looks kind of close, but like it's just not as a defined tail, and it's not like a thick. These isopods are like thick, like a roly-poly, that you think it actually is, but with a lobster tail. And so yeah, they're kind of cool. I've got them in a tank all by themselves with one of Dr. Anthony's Peruvian ghost shrimp, and one of the isopods molted in the bag, and the ghost shrimp just ran right up to it, grabbed the molt, and started snacking on its face. I was like, oh no, one of them died, and then I realized it was a molt. So that ghost shrimp is funny to see them just run around and just be happy looking for food, but. Those little pinchers, but they're not like the other ones that I got that are like the purple and I don't know, clear bluish kind of color. It was ghost shrimp, completely clear. It was like a freebie in the bag. You didn't see it make its way in there until it got all the way down here. But man, the thing's funny watching it run around with these huge arms. They're tiny though. So. Yeah, no, the isopods are definitely cool. I know the stream that I catch them on, like I mentioned, the tide comes in and out, so it really depends on the tide, on what kind of salinity the water has and stuff like that. But that little stream right there has trout, so I'm interested in finding out if I can get them to breed in the fresh water or not.
Yeah,
Sorry.
if you can, I definitely. Oh, sorry.
Craig's Catfish Cave, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. So the kids want ice cream for dinner. My shout. All the ice cream for us, though, because they're in bed.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Actually, so the Botterocks, they don't eat too much, and we were limited on time and stuff like that. So we had a really big lunch at Chula's, and then afterwards we had a really big ice cream for dinner, basically. So yesterday the kids had ice cream for dinner, but they had a big breakfast and a big lunch dinner combination. So they were well fed. But how are things with you, man? Any cool projects or anything you got going on?
Well, I just picked up my first saltwater tank. I did convince my cousin to get into Caradinas,
Did he
so I
pick
a shopping list.
time?
Not yet. He liked all of them that I shown him. He liked all of them he saw online. And I did give him your playlist for new shrimp keepers, so he's going to be doing a lot of learning over the next week or so. And then I'm going to help him get set up and established.
So does he have a tank already, or is this going to be his first aquarium?
No, he's got a tank. It's one of the corner tanks. I think it's 46 gallon.
Does he have shrimp in it already, or?
No. He's got an angelfish.
Tank, right?
What's that?
First shrimp tank, then, right?
Yeah, first time ever having shrimp.
And so, right into Caradina?
Right into Caradina. He's already got an RO
unit, or are you going to get him the RO?
No, he's already got the RO unit because he was going to set up a saltwater tank, but decided that it would take too much time and dedication. And so I've got that saltwater tank next to me, and I'm going to be getting that set up soon, hopefully.
Nice. You're going to beat me to it, man. I'm kind of jealous. I've been wanting a saltwater tank for a while now. We're actually doing the Florida State Fair Aquarium Beautiful contest.
Mm-hmm.
Videos of that in the past. And usually Thelma. I'm watching too much Scooby-Doo with the kids. Thelma, she turned 90 years old, and I think it's the first year she hasn't done a saltwater aquarium. But there was 3 other saltwater aquariums, and they didn't look too shabby.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for the project. Brand new adventure.
Yeah, no, and I'm happy for you, man. You're a disciple now. You're going out there and doing my work for me, getting the people to join the shrimp hobby. I'm proud of you, man.
I'm trying.
Proud of you.
No soliciting, though.
Now, I expect door to door in New York, apartment, you clear one complex after another. Hey, I heard you can't have a dog because you can't, let them run free. Da da da. Well, I got a shrimp tank for you. See it now. All the good buffalo joints need to have shrimp tanks in their restaurants.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, man. I appreciate that comment.
But you got any other questions or anything like that, man?
No, I think that's it. Just when you get those new isopods breeding, I definitely am interested. So just food for thought there.
Yeah, if they don't breed in the fresh water, I'm pretty positive I can get them to breed in the brackish water. So maybe there'll be an isopod that I'll keep with the Opaula. And it's going to be funny because the isopods are actually bigger than Opaulas. So really? The isopods that we have on the website, those are small. The isopods that I caught with Regina were over 1 centimeter. And I mean, maybe 1.5 centimeters. But like, I'm talking Goliath is like half the size of the bigger ones we were catching yesterday. And I caught some that were already buried. So I'm hoping those take. I can't remember if there's any salt content in that tank at all, but it's due for a water change, and I'll probably do a 50% water change with straight fresh water. So in the next 3 weeks, it'll be fully, 75% fresh water, if not more. So barely any salt in it at all.
All right. Yeah, definitely look forward to seeing progress on that.
And what did you do with a gift card today? Why did you buy a gift card on the website?
Oh, I had a giveaway this morning for hitting 400 subscribers. So I chose the Garden of Eater as a giveaway gift card, and I made it $30. That way it was enough to get one of these or a shirt so the Canadian viewers can also participate.
Well, you could have told me you're doing something. I would have added on to it. I would have matched it.
Oh, I'm
been
sorry.
so busy, man.
I'm sorry.
I just been
close
so
to
busy.
500.
So when we do the $500 one, you let me know, and I'll
500 subscriber.
500 sub. If you do one for that, man, let me know, and I'll take care of you, man.
I will be doing one. I'm like 39 subscribers away from 500 now, so I'm getting close.
Oh wow, man, getting up there.
Everyone better be subscribed to Crypt Keeper right now if you're here.
I told you last week.
Definitely appreciate it.
You're gonna do big things in the hobby, man. So you're gonna get your shrimp ready to enter them in the international contest this year. Or are you just gonna stick American contests?
Send me the details.
All right, we will be doing a live stream where we talk about all the shows and stuff like that, and I'll be going through. I'll have to get with you beforehand so you have all the links to all the shows, but maybe that's a live stream for next week. I'm not sure.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem, man. You have a good week.
Yep, thanks. You too, guys. See you later.
All right.
Could you please mention back swimmers? I've seen them in aquariums on YouTube, and I've kept them myself.
Back swimmers.
No
Those
idea.
are going to be the beetles. I think that look like they're swimming on their backs. I don't know anything about them. I'm sorry. I haven't kept them. Yeah, they're little. I don't know if they're a beetle at all, but it's a little bug, and it looks like they're.
They only swim on their back.
Yeah. No, I haven't kept them. So I think this is going to be like a beginning to adding a ton of different invertebrates and stuff like that into our repertoire. And we added a little entertainment system here, and I think we could easily add one and start screwing them together or something like that, and make a couple little jars where we do little insects and different bugs in each one. I think that would be cool, and then we'd be able to observe and give you more information on these. But they definitely caught our interest last year. We've just been so busy, but you know, when you're out in the wild and you catch really cool isopods, you go home and you make a tank for them. We move some fish around.
Oh, I just lost my spot because I hit the wrong button.
I've got nothing else to talk about. I think me and Crypt Keeper answered or went over everything I've got to say about the isopods.
Daniel asked, do you guys have red tiger bees in?
So, red tiger bees, those could be a couple different things. The red tie bees, I don't know if they're still on the website or not. I think they might be off. I will have those back up on the website within a month or so. Red tigers, I could let go of some actual just straight pure red tigers. If you wanted to email us at thegardenofeater@gmail.com, they'll be $10 a piece. Or the red fancy tigers are available on the website. They're just a higher grade red tie bee.
Hey, Brennan from Misfit Reptiles and Aquatics. Haven't seen you in here for a while.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people I haven't seen, but that's mainly because she reads the chat, and I didn't know they're in there and saying hi the whole time.
Brandon said, does soy ahoy and barley pellets have different benefits? Do they grow different biofilm?
So I'm sure they grow different biofilm or grow biofilm at different rates. I'm not sure if they grow different ones. However, barley is known to promote growth for beneficial bacteria, where the soy ahoy, I know, just breaks down and turns into biofilm, and the shrimp will eat it and can last a long time and be a good vacation feeder. So, like, really, the good pro to soy ahoy is you can overfeed and it's going to last a lot longer and not murk up your tank. Where the barley pellets, it kind of just falls apart, breaks down, goes into the substrate, and it's going to break down there. Where the soy ahoy will break down on top of your substrate and be a better vacation feeder. The barley, if you're going to feed a ton of it, most of the people put them in like a tea bag or something like that. So the biofilm is going to seep out of the tea bag, and the barley isn't going to fall into the substrate and create a problem there. So the barley needs a little bit more work than the soy ahoy to do the same job, basically. But the barley is going to produce more beneficial bacteria. Anyone? Any other good questions? There's some really good questions tonight.
I do see this. I see a new sub-hobby arising that involves keeping aquatic insects and isopods.
Yeah, so I think that one video that happened last year really took off. You've also got the whole father fish method where you go out into the wild and you grab a thing of mud and you put it in your tank and you see what comes out of it. You'll get all sorts of little tiny critters and microorganisms and stuff out of that, but they're not always good, not always shrimp safe. So you got to be careful doing that, especially if you're going to do it for an invertebrate tank. There will be a dominant one that probably thrives in a smaller aquarium. There's not a big enough volume of water for them to cohabit.
Dr. Anthony says barley also reduces the growth of algae in the water.
But I think that's because it's promoting beneficial bacteria. The beneficial bacteria is cleaning the water so the algae can't grow.
Jamie A. said wine red panda crossed with black King Kong panda are blue babies possible. I have a few babies that have a bright blue color.
So don't get your hopes up. It's very, very depressing when you find out that your blue babies are more than likely going to turn out to be black. So what happens is the green hulks, the blue jellies, or the blue Taiwan bees anyways, the pigment is just a low grade when they're young. And with all shrimp, the pigment is going to grow. They're going to gain pigment. The pigments themselves, they're going to mature. And as they mature, they're going to start overlapping. Just like if you were to take light lenses, you put enough of them on there, you're going to black it out and none of the light's going to get through. The same thing's going to happen with pigment, and you're not going to be able to see through the shrimp anymore. The blue, the green is going to eventually thicken up and it's going to turn black. So as long as your red pandas and your black King Kongs are pure, they're just blue as babies, and as they've hit about 1 centimeter, I mean, they can hold the blue a little bit longer, but roughly around one centimeter, they start to turn black. I've had them hold blue for like 2 clutches of babies, but usually a 3 centimeter King Kong is always black. There's never blue left in it.
Thank you so much, Vibes, again with the $1.99 super chat. I can't tell if these are super chats or super stickers at this point. So thanks, y'all. Many hugs and much love. I got the pin stuck in my hair.
It's got to be a super chat. Super sticker's got to be just like the emoji.
The pin is stuck in my hair.
I cut Shelby's hair yesterday. She's like, "Hey, can you cut these split ends for me?" I'm like, "Yeah. Yes, I can. Let's do it."
So excited to just chop it.
Did a perfect job.
Really good.
Yep.
Did recut a little bit of it, but it was
You didn't
because
tell
I'm
me
picky.
that.
I just did it not too long ago.
I didn't want to cut too high up. I cut higher than she told me to.
Yeah, it did a really good job, honestly. I don't have to pay someone a lot of money for
Well, she has to pay me still.
Oh, get out of here.
She's getting the bill.
Thank you, everyone, for subbing to Crypt Keeper's channel. Appreciate it. I see a lot of you said that you did. Have you tried H2O2 oxidizers?
All right, so I have not tried them. I get the use for them and stuff like that. If my power went out, I wish I had 500 of them, and if I didn't have a generator, you know what I mean? Like, I wish I had 500 of them for every tank to be able to oxidize the tanks. But realistically, for us to do that for every single one of our tanks, it takes us an hour and 15 minutes just to feed everything, to put hydrogen peroxide into a container inside each tank. I mean, to wash our hands after we do it, after certain ones. No, it's not worth it. And I've got breeding in tanks where I just don't think anything extra is going to help produce the numbers that makes it worth it. I know the hydrogen peroxide isn't itself that expensive, but I think there's least expensive ways to add more oxygen into your tank. I could easily drill a hole into the airlines and add a little air stone, but I think with the sponge filters themselves, they get enough oxygen in the tanks for the shrimp.
Daniel asks, what shrimp is top seller and why do you think that is?
I think it's our blue dreams or blue diamonds. The blue diamonds over the blue dreams. I think we discussed this. And it's because they take less culling. Blue is a lot of people's favorite color. And then, they pop in a lot of aquariums. They show up on green plants and stuff like that. A lot of people like the lighter color substrate and they won't lose their color as much. And they're a super, super easy shrimp to take care of. Not a lot of culling. That's going to do it. Fire red cherries are right behind it just because they're what everyone sees as, oh, should be the beginner shrimp. If I can do well with these, I'll move on to the next one. But those that listen and find out that the reds and the blues are the exact same shrimp, they pick their favorite color, and usually blue wins.
Cut up in chat. I might have skipped some questions like way before Crypt Keepers segment. So if you still have a question, just pop it down in chat. We're right on cue for once, maybe.
Yeah.
Might have missed some, so that's probably why.
Probably might have missed something when you got up, and I try to scroll through chat and find anything on my own. But if anybody has anything to say other than that, we saw Guppy Beast. Hopefully the Tangerine Tigers are still doing well.
Thank you for shrimp and sticker. My first Caridina shrimp, healthy and happy in their new home with that clump of red moss.
All right, so
that's who the red moss went to?
We actually had to leave during the live stream, or not live stream, the auction. Had a family get together going on. We left after Eric Bodrock's talk. Amazing talk, definitely one of my top 600. And then came back, and I had left a bunch of bags at the auction. Saw all the red rooter bags went for like $3 or $2. I was like, oh man, that's a bummer. Those usually sell for a lot more, but I had no idea about the red moss. But if you watched their live stream last week, you're doing good as long as the red moss doesn't turn orange. If it turns kind of like grayish or a very faint red color, you're fine. It's when it turns that bright orange, then you've got an issue, and you want to avoid it at all costs.
So Avon said if you collected your freshwater or isopods from Florida, then they may in fact be this Latin name. I did look that up. They do not look like that. I see those all the time.
So those
don't even look like isopods to me, but
that was close.
Yeah.
And that's why I said it kind of looks like it. Exactly, but the tail is different. Ours kind of look more like a lobster tail. I know that one right there kind of has like the lobster tail thing going on, but like wait till I get good video or footage of these. Like they look like they're like lobster tails from the Keys, the spiny lobsters that don't have the claws, and just the head's taken off and it's just the tail. It's weird.
Brenton Fender asks, do you recommend fertilizer for a planted neo tank?
So it is absolutely something that you can use for your neos. Just make sure that there is no copper in the fertilizer. Thrive S, Brightwell, there's a bunch of different shrimp safe fertilizers that are out there on the market. We avoid using them in our tanks simply because we generally grow more algae in the tanks that we dose the we're going to do a giveaway. Oh, surprise. The tanks that we have the neocaridina's in with the inert substrate are generally are easier to maintain plants. They don't require a lot of light or anything like that. And we don't do, frequent 10% or weekly 50% water changes or anything like that. So I don't really fertilize much, but we fertilize the ponds outside where we grow our plants. There's neos in there. They do just fine. We've got planted tanks where we dose fertilizer in, and there's shrimp in there as well. Just got to be careful with the fertilizer. If your main goal is to breed shrimp, though, you maybe want to skip on the fertilizer. But if you want a really nice planted shrimp tank, use the fertilizers, increase your water changes, and you shouldn't have an algae issue.
Dr. Anthony says, water can only hold so much O2 before it becomes out of solution anywhere. Remember, O2 enters the tank with the bubbles disturbing the surface, no from the bubbles themselves. Matt said, Grant Crip is going to be at 500 subs giveaway soon. What y'all going to offer up?
Oh, well, I think me and Tim will have to discuss that. I'll see what he wants to have to give away on his channel. But Tim has earned it. Like, Tim has done so much. Every time we've got a video that's done, Tim is the first one that gets to see it. And he goes through and writes the description for us. Might edit things a little bit, like when we did the video with Tim. So I don't know, Tim, if you went and reread the description. I definitely changed that one.
Mile High Fish said, can you keep blue diamond neos with tangerine tigers?
It's one of my favorite combinations if you're going to mix the two shrimp. We've got the University of Florida here. That's kind of our local state college, and it's orange and blue colors. So definitely don't mind that color combination. And the two shrimp are very hardy. You can keep them in either Caridina or Neocaridina parameters, and they should both do all right.
How long do botanicals last?
It depends on the botanical itself. Certain leaves will only last a few days. Some will last months. Cholla wood can last anywhere from 6 months to 5 years, if not longer. I know some people have had it in their tanks and it hasn't degraded at all. In our tanks, though, it breaks down too fast, and I don't like the mulm. There's different little pods and stuff like that that hold together really well. We've got some in our Mata tank that are eight months old and doesn't show any signs of them really breaking down at all.
Dr. Anthony said, we need to do a segment on your stream. It's Grant's mistakes.
I'm sure that's going to be Shelby's talk. What is your talk going to be at for the Tampa Bay Aquarium Society next month?
They've been wanting
Grant's mistakes.
Yeah, probably be more interesting.
What were you going to do?
They've been asking me to aquascape.
Oh.
Only told him like 6 times now. Everyone wants multiple colors. I have your tangerine tigers. What would be a good shrimp to mix with it?
So my favorite thing to mix with tangerine tigers is going to be blue bolts or any other Taiwan bees. Your water parameters need to be really well or spot on. If you don't have low pH, 0 kH water, Yellow King Kongs is another, not Yellow King Kongs, Aurora Tigers is another fun one because then you can get the green apple tigers. But tangerine tigers and Taiwan bees, you get the best cross and hybrids out of those. It just takes some work, but even if you don't want to do the work, you can get some fun little color combinations come out of those.
Oh. Crip said, Dr. Anthony, there may be a mod who's been time-stamping some bloopers and funny spots in the streams. No way. Have you been doing that, Crip?
I'm aware of this, too.
What?
I know it happens, yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. And then Avon was saying, I meant the other ones that you sell are other isopods. Those ones were not collected in Florida, however. Those ones came from a breeder, not from Florida, though.
Yeah.
And they look a little bit different than the ones that are native to Florida. They have a different coloration to them. I've seen the ones that are native to Florida, but they just don't look like isopods at all. They're actually kind of creepy looking compared to the ones we do have.
Where have you seen them?
When I've caught them before, and I thought they were a bug, so I threw them back. Like I didn't think those were isopods. But Bob's property. I've caught in different type of beetles, which I'm gonna throw them immediately back because there's a beetle that will sting you and it hurts really bad.
So I will say there was something else that looked like an isopod, but like looked like it was more of a scud because it had like scud legs, but it was flat. And then when I flipped it up, I thought it was a tick. So I was like, oh. And then Regina's like, it wasn't a tick though. There's no such thing as as an aquatic tick. So like now that I've seen those other pictures of the other freshwater isopods, I think it might have been one of those. So we might have to go back. I think there might be 2 different kinds of isopods in that one little river.
I struggle so much with any bugs. I think they're so cool and unique, but I cannot stand the feeling of any type of bug or crawlies jumping anything on my skin. And I scared people this weekend because I was picking up all these balloons I found while we were collecting. There was like hundreds. If you buy balloons for birthday parties, that is just an awful thing. Don't do that. It ends up out in these, reserves with animals. But I'm picking it all up, and we're finally ready to leave. And I go to grab it, and there's just a gigantic spider in my hand. So I'm just like threw it on the ground and was screaming right when these people walked by, and they're like doing this and almost fell off the boardwalk with all their dive gear. Hilarious. But yeah, I can't take that. Can't touch them. So weird. They look cool though. Sibley said, I set up my new tanks with a UGF method. It's underground filter, right?
Yeah.
Is that what that stands for? Okay, just for other people, underground filter method. Sort of like Taiwan breeders. Would snails be okay for these type of tanks? If so, are assassin snails okay to put with Taiwan bees? MTS overbreeding worries me.
Oh man, I want to say you want to avoid Malaysian trumpet snails when you have a UGF filter, but you could still use ram's horn snails. They wouldn't be an issue. However, if you have the low pH substrate and water, you're probably going to nuke most of the snails. And with Taiwan bees, that's what you have, and it'll probably melt the assassin snail shells. So I would avoid putting assassin snails or anything else. We do have some Malaysian trumpet snails that are able to survive in the low pH tanks, but I would avoid using those with UGF, just like I'd avoid any rooted plants and stuff like that.
Life in Liquid said, why do you not want algae if you're breeding shrimp? Don't shrimp want algae?
So algae outcompetes biofilm. Shrimp eat the biofilm. Shrimp won't eat algae unless the algae is actually dying. So if you have healthy, strong algae and it's just growing and the Cladophora is taking over the tank, the shrimp are getting tangled up and caught up in it, and they're getting choked out of nutrients, tangled up, starved of oxygen, and they end up withering away and dying. So if you have an algae-free tank, they're not going to have any issues crawling around, grabbing that healthy, nutritious biofilm. I know there's a lot of nutrition in certain algae and stuff like that, but the shrimp's main diet should be biofilm, and then you can substitute it those commercial foods to give them those other added nutrients and vitamins.
Daniel asks, what's good to mix with orange bees?
So for the most part, orange bees are usually just the Neocaridina's and mislabeled as orange bees. There is a sun-kissed orange bee caridina shrimp, but chances are that one is brackish and won't be able to breed in fresh water alone. So if that's the case and those are what you have, then you could throw anything into those tanks in those water parameters. They won't crossbreed. However, you throw in a Neo with it and it does crossbreed, you're going to get wild Neocardinas.
Have a good night, Stephen P. And we're all caught up in chat again.
All caught up. So for 15 minutes, we can talk about what we collected and went around with Eric Bodrock and what we learned. It was a ton. We brought home a bunch of rainbow fish, some rainbows, some wannabe mountain cloud. I don't know what they are. They're
Just a different species
of mountain
white
clouds.
cloud minnows.
I didn't know that. We've got the golds. We've got the
they're
long fins.
So it even says it formerly known as that. They are now classified as a different white cloud minnow.
I ain't trying this.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, I'm not right now. I would have to hear him say it again, but they're really cute, really small. They look pretty similar to white cloud minnows. They just have a different coloration to them and slightly different shape to them.
Didn't catch any newts. Caught another siren though. It's awesome to catch one of those things. I took it, threw it into our tank with all of the Florida flagfish, and all the Florida flagfish were at the bottom of the tank with all the bulbitis. And then as soon as I threw the siren, now all of the flagfish went from a bottom-dwelling fish to a mid-column fish because they're all worried about the sea serpent that is roaming through the bulbitis forest now. We also got some really, really pretty fundulus.
Chrysotis.
All right. Lots of beautiful red spots with some green coloration, hue, blue, maybe blue hue to it a little bit. Red fins. Got some good females, large females for them as well. They brought home some of those to breed. I had also brought them to a spot where I guaranteed that they would catch some pygmy sunfish. I don't know if you're listening, Chris Biggs, but I guaranteed it. You just had to accept my offer on actually going there to catch them. Told you it was a possibility at some spots, but I got a spot where Alex and Dr. Anthony, I think we caught like 20 of them. And so we took the Bodrocks there. We went through the water, and I wasn't catching them at first, and I was just like, I promised them they were going to get one at this spot. So I went further and further out into the water. Almost got a booter, but kept it together and found a real tiny one. I was like, this isn't good enough. Like it's not showing any color. Pygmy sunfish themselves kind of look like glazed over ghost of a fish. They look sickly when you catch them. They don't look like they should be healthy the way they are, but it's easier for me to identify them that way over a Gambusia when they look like that. So I had to go back there, caught another one, slightly bigger female, and then went back for one final scoop, went in there, really got aggressive, got a 2-for-1 special, and one of the males was the most vibrant, flaring up the most color that I've ever seen one in person. I've seen, the most beautiful one that everybody's seen when you search up Elosoma, pygmy sunfish, whatever. But this was one in person. It was beautiful. I was so happy.
Brennan asks, is it a lesser or greater siren by chance?
I believe it is a lesser siren, but there's a chance it could grow big and turn. I don't know how you identify them until they grow past a certain size. I know the lessers will only get to about 18 inches, or the graders can get up to 3 feet. This is my second one that I've caught in not the exact same spot, but same location, but they're like the exact same size. So I know the males, I think, get a little bit bigger heads than the females, but besides that, I don't know how to sex them or anything like that. They're not easy like axolotls, where they got the junk. You can see it.
Yep. Dee Dee said, I've never heard of a siren, had to look it up. Yep, they are really cool. And they look almost like axolotls, like you said. So they got like the gills on the front and cute little face, but then they got just a long snake body like an eel.
And we're hoping to do more repticons and stuff like that. So I would really like to breed out some sirens, breed some newts, get some other little aquatic things that we could bring with us to Repticon, sell with Shelby's isopods, because she's got aquatic ones and her terrestrial ones.
WB said, I heard you were trying to hatch some rare rainbow fish eggs.
Yeah, we were talking about Eric. I brought home some rainbows. Some of them were fully hatched already, swimming around, bigger than Fry. They were ones that I wasn't going to bid for, but then I got the whole, hey, I want those. And I'm like, all right, we can go all the way for those, and brought them home. But we got 3 bags of eggs, and, I knew Eric was bringing these down. I asked him the day before the auction, hey, so I want to buy some of these rainbow eggs off of you. What do I got to do to take care of them? And so we dropped the tanks with the eggs in them to halfway. And the plan is we're just going to put 1 fresh cup of water in it every day until the tanks are full up. And then, we can go ahead, do water changes after that. Hopefully the fry are big enough they're not going to be sucked up, or if they get into the flow of things, we can notice them and stop the siphon. But going to be feeding them here, hopefully hatch in like 6 days, I think. But first little feed I think we're going to do for our Cory cats from now on is squeeze out the sponge filter for them. That's something Eric was doing, and we've got plenty of sponge filters that need a good
stress
squeeze.
Me out so much.
Yeah, but
it's going to stress me out.
If Eric does it,
I'm one that
good.
likes really
it's
clean
good.
aquariums, so when I'm going to mum my own tank up, it's going to stress me out.
With the last 3 speakers, the amount of information that I've learned, I hope I can retain half of it.
Yeah. Axolotls are really cool. If you don't have any, they are a pretty cool pet.
Yeah,
pretty easy to take care
of. I think I might even try to get our axolotls to spawn here in a little bit.
Aaron Water Buddies wants some archer fish. Those are pretty cool.
Archer fish are cool. I could see myself doing a really cool Biotope Amazon aquarium and doing a paludarium with the archer fish and entering that in the Florida State Fair one year. But not for the aquarium side, for the terrarium side.
Kyle said Mulm is fry breeding ground.
Can be for sure. I prefer my tanks clean though.
It drives me crazy. If I had a specific tank that was like actually had an amber color and the leaves, like Mulm wouldn't bother me then. But just in a regular tank where you're just trying to keep it, make sure there's nothing that could go wrong. It's hard to tell when something's going wrong in a tank with Mulm in the bottom. Like, you don't know if there's bacteria issues or stuff like that. Where it's coming from other than the Mulm.
We get them breeding and get some eggs. I'd be happy to send some eggs your way. Even if I get them breeding, I doubt I'm going to worry about all of the eggs, because they have to all be separated or else they cannibalize. So I like to sell and get rid of the eggs before I have to worry about any of the fry and raising them up. I'd like to get a good fry system going.
Doesn't he live in California though?
Yeah, but
we can't send them to California.
But he's a doctor with a PhD and a university, and we can send them there. One of his students needs them.
Okay.
He's a doctor. He's got ways around
Lady
those
R
things.
said, "I'm totally down with the sirens and newts. Sounds like a good System of the Down song." Get it down with the sirens.
And every tank that we have the newts in, we have some shrimp in or guppies or something like that, and they're doing really well with one another. So I have been feeding a lot more bloodworms this year. Let me just say, we've gone through some sleeves of bloodworms.
University professor. I feel like you're always yelling at the screen when you watch us.
Yeah, university is way higher standard than college.
Welcome in,
Sorry.
Kelly. Grant, what's your favorite fish to eat, and would you raise one in a pond or something?
And I'm trying to think of a smart aleck response. Oh, Swedish fish. And no, I wouldn't put them in a pond. I don't eat anything with a fin except for Swedish fish or goldfish, I guess. But if I had to choose between goldfish and Swedish fish, definitely eating Swedish fish. Sorry.
Sibley says, thanks for answering my questions tonight, Shelby and Grant. Your videos are so informative and awesome. I have 2 Neo tanks and 2 Taiwan B tanks with room for 4 more tanks. Nice. On this rack.
Well, don't forget, you've got homework this year. You need to add 10 more tanks, so you got to find room for 6 more.
Vibes coming back in with $1.99 super chat. I'm back. Turkey pot pie and peanut butter pie. That sounds pretty good, actually. That sounds like a good dinner and dessert. Thanks so much, Vibes.
I wonder if I should have called my mom to see. I had one request when my mom came down here, and that was to make a rhubarb pie. So I wonder if she made it. I should have asked. I could have used it. I'm starving. We do have a ton of Girl Scout cookies, though.
Yeah.
So I'll probably eat a sleeve of those and probably a whole package of gummy worms after this stream.
Everyone
Starving.
still watching probably knows, so they probably all ordered it from Stephen P. and Jenna P. They're still doing. They're doing Girl Scout cookies.
My uncle had the boxes there. I had money in my pocket. I can't resist. I bought as many as I could. It was all of them. I bought all the Thin Mints. I felt guilty, but then I realized I was the last person to go, so bought all the Thin Mints, and I didn't feel bad about it. And I am sharing with Shelby. She just doesn't eat as many as me, so.
1 to your whole sleeve of them.
Well, it's not a whole sleeve if you eat one of them, is it?
So, your aunt, when we were walking out and I said that he, overeats cookies, she was like, oh, how could you not? 1 sleeve is 1 serving. That's what she said. I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, who wants to waste a Ziploc bag to make sure that the cookies don't go stale? And they don't make them in resealable stack bags, so you got to eat the whole stack. And if somebody's only going to eat 1, you eat the rest of the stack. And there's not a lot in the stack.
I've asked favorite Girl Scout cookies.
It is going to be the Thin Mints. And I put my Thin Mints in the freezer. That's what you're supposed to do with them.
Don't do that. It hurts your teeth. There's no reason to really. It does taste a little. It's like refreshing.
Coming from the person that chews ice, the Thin Mints hurt your teeth?
Yeah.
Really?
I wouldn't be recommending it to people that don't chew ice like I do.
No, I'll take a whole stack of Thin Mints right out of the freezer instantly.
Sorry, Pastor Wynn, I'm going to have to ask you to dip out of here with that bacon and rhubarb pie. That's like bacon in your rhubarb pie.
I like bacon and egg pie. I like bacon maybe in a shepherd's pie, but not a fruit and bacon pie. Please exit stage left.
That's why you be passing wind and putting them bacon and everything. Kelly makes some pretty good rhubarb custard pies.
Oh, you have me sold on custard. I'll take that. I'll take any kind of pie except for peach and apple and bacon.
Kirk said, Tagalongs and Samoas are the two best Girl Scout cookies. Tagalongs
They're
aren't bad.
fine. They're fine.
Samoas are disgusting.
Oh, they're good too.
No, throw them in the trash.
Oh, they're fine. I'll eat them.
Kelly likes Thin Mints.
I'll eat a box of every Girl Scout cookie. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, Thin Mints are the ultimate.
Says if they're going stale, you're doing it wrong. You eat half and twist the sleeve. He can't do that. Nope, he eats the whole thing. Yes, frozen Thin Mints. Ooh, Thin Mints crushed into hot fudge sundae. What? One of our ice cream place? One of them does the Thin Mint Girl Scout cookies, and it's pretty good. Oh, Dunkin' Donuts does.
Yeah.
I get
It's seasonal though.
I get the cappuccino blast Thin Mint Girl Scout cookies once in a while. I regret it like an hour later. My tummy hurts. But it is good.
Oh, I shove a Thin Mint in my mouth, take a sip of milk. It's delicious.
Yeah, see, like regular Thin Mints, what are those called? What are
Thin
the
Mints.
patties?
No, I don't know what
No.
the patty is.
I
Thin
don't
Mint
know.
is the original Thin Mint though. There's knockoffs. They weren't as good.
Thought that was a rule to put Thin Mints in the freezer.
It should. I also put all my Reese's in the freezer. Like half the kids' Halloween candy will go in the freezer. It just tastes so much better in the freezer.
Crib said chocolate covered bacon is amazing. Bet it would be awesome in a rhubarb pie. Oh goodness.
But I bet the rhubarb pie would be better
Maybe
with
it's because
strawberries.
I don't like bacon at all. It's okay. Not that bad. Kelly said she'll make you a pie.
And I will not share it.
Dr. Anthony hates me now. So Samoas are the best. I can never visit you again. You're right. I would never have Samoas.
I can send Shelby to her dad's for the weekend. You can come.
For the weekend.
As long as you bring more wild discus. I will have more tanks of wild discus for sure. These things have definitely took my attention away from other things.
No, that's not what I was thinking of either. I'm just drawing a blank of what.
So, all right, we're gonna leave on this, guys. The best thing that you guys should do is go get Reese's Klondike bars and Eggo waffles. You heat the Eggo waffle up, you cook it, and then sandwich two. Oh no, it's 2 waffles with a Reese's
Klondike bar in the middle.
I haven't done it in so long. I almost thought it was the other way around, but no, it's definitely 2 nice warm waffles and a Klondike bar in the middle. It is delicious. My favorite Klondike bar, of course, Reese's. So that's my choice. But it is the breakfast of champions. I recommended it to Jorge Masvidal right before he knocked out Ben Askren. Was it a coincidence? I don't think so. I'm just kidding. I never did that.
Dr. Anthony says only have 30 wild discus left.
Wow.
Thank you. Aqua Addicted. It was York peppermint patties. Yeah, no, those ones 100% put them in the freezer. They're soft enough and they're amazing.
Those are all right.
That's what I was trying to think of.
But
thank you.
I want some smaller discus because I've got one discus that's just getting beat up and picked on and bullied, and I think that one needs some other small, weak, pathetic friends so they can go into their tank, and then they maybe not be so weak and pathetic together.
Cal says she doesn't know the fat kid lifestyle, Tim. I'm more of like I'm going to choose like vegetables than like candy.
But she knows the lifestyle because I live it and I eat it in front of her all the time.
That's probably
even at Chula's yesterday, my mom's like, "Where is it all going?" And I'm like, "I eat as much as I can between 10 and 8."
Night Out says I make a killer chocolate covered bacon, sweet, spicy, and salty chocolate bacony heaven. I use Nutella. Okay, I might like that though. I love Nutella. Like anything Nutella's put on, I'd probably eat it. So you got me at Nutella. So got 20 medium discs.
Well,
all right.
We're supposed to leave on the cooking tip.
But they kept talking about chocolate covered bacon.
I'm gonna go destroy a whole box of.
You made him all hungry. Now he's gonna eat past his time. He should be eating.
Yeah, well, I was starving beforehand. It was going to happen.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
Have
you,
a good one, guys.
everyone.
The donations, wow, you guys
Incredible.
killed it today. Thank you guys so much. Wait, we didn't even do the giveaway, Shelby.
Oh no.
There's 56 people here. Let's do a giveaway. Hashtag isopods. Shelby set it up, and it never happened.
I'm so sorry.
So if you made it this long,
Look at that. 55 people
hashtag
got a chance.
isopods. What is going on
Just
here,
let,
Shelby?
like,
How
6
did you
people,
do
like,
that?
leave. You
We
said
even
bye,
said
and
it.
they
How
all
did
left.
nobody even?
For aquatic isopods is the giveaway. Hashtag isopods to give away. So sorry. We've been waiting. So at least these are true supporters.
We'll give you guys 5 minutes.
We're just going to stare at the screen for 5 minutes?
No, we'll talk
guys
about
have a-
something
You
like
wanna
your
talk more
memory
about
being
chocolate
horrible with no
covered
excuses. I got all the excuses.
My family actually has very much excuses.
All right, well.
Like, a lot of them have Alzheimer's. There's a reason I don't remember things. I gotta take those cool mushrooms they say, like lion's mane and something else, turkey tail. They're all good for memory. Your buddy Chaz does that.
Yeah. Should be
Still
good.
here, but no tank. Oh no. You
Well,
put
if
him in with some Neos.
Yeah, so the good thing about the isopods is they can withstand a wide variety of different parameters. You can put them in with any of your Neos. I don't know if they're going to breed with the Caridina, but I did have a moss sale for some Christmas moss, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go grab this one over here, and I went to grab it, and it was full of isopods, but they're all large ones. I didn't see any babies, so I think they are still surviving in the Caridina parameters. I just don't know if they're breeding. I don't know if the low pH is good enough for the babies or not, but in our Neo Caridina tanks, they are thriving, and so are the Neos as well. So they're definitely compatible, and even if you have a Caridina tank, they will still live.
Dr. Anthony says that Peruvian alcohol at your house will help you with your memory. I don't think so. Probably do the opposite.
How do you know it's still here?
I told him it would be up there. We won't touch it.
Yeah, I almost pulled it out.
Now.
I almost pulled it out, but
Kyle said, can't remember which mushrooms to use to remember what mushrooms to use. That'd probably be my excuse. Oh man, I'm one of those people that there's actually like a whole video about it, about memory and like why you forget things. The number one thing is doors, passing through doors. So like I'll be at work and I'll go to the back and through the double doors and I'll just be standing there for 5 minutes not knowing what I'm doing. Carbon says, my kid is having a hard time choosing between killifish or guppies. What do you think would be better for a 13-year-old with a 10-gallon tank? Guppies. I say killifish are really easy, don't get me wrong, and I absolutely love them. But I think that would be more rewarding for a kid to do guppies because he has a higher chance of breeding them and having the babies. And what kid doesn't absolutely love having little babies in the tank? Killifish are a little bit harder to breed. So there's so many different guppies. You got every single type of color you could get, and it's really easy to get in the hobby. So if there's some that go missing because they, forgot to take care of the tank, you can easily replace them. So it's the best way, because I know at 13 years old, they could get really upset about their fish dying. And, we all had the dad that replaced the neon tetras when they died, So that's what I would recommend. And there is so many types. I mean, I can't even begin. I mean, there's got to be over 500 different types of guppies.
There's a lot of varieties. They're definitely going to be the easier strain. And if you want to do the killifish, it would definitely be more rewarding for the kid, better challenge. But if you want to keep them happy, the guppies is the easier choice. All right, we got 1 more minute, 30 seconds here left on the giveaway. Hashtag isopods.
Luke said just eat some, I don't know what that is, cubensis.
Dentist.
Have a good time. Who needs memory? Me to function. Oh, man.
All right, we got 10 seconds here. Hashtag isopods. We're tired. You're seeing it now. We're drained.
I've been
All
drained
right.
since the beginning.
Draw it.
Oh, I wasn't prepared. Again. Really, I'm pretty smooth with this.
Smooth criminal. Crump, 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 crump. Oh. Oh.
Fish and shrimp are rich. Slid in here. Got some free isopods. Make sure to email us at thegardenofeater@gmail.com.
And we'll get those out for you next Monday. Everybody that has made an order, please bear with us. We are a little backed up, a little bit busy with my mother being in town, but everyone's going to be receiving extras for the wait. So, all right. Now let's end on the giveaway.
Yes.
Everything's complete now. I feel like we didn't forget anything now. We are good to call it a night.
Oh, but
Everyone.
we forgot. I'm just kidding.
Y'all have a good one.
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
See the donations. They helped us remember the giveaway.
Yeah, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Later, guys.